A king had everything most people only dream of: wealth, power, fame, and a kingdom that stretched for miles. Yet every night he lay awake, haunted by anxiety and restlessness. One day, he made a shocking announcement. "Whoever can give me true peace of mind will receive half of my kingdom." Thousands tried. Philosophers, scholars, and priests all failed. Then an old monk appeared and said only one sentence: "If you truly seek peace, meet me alone in the forest before sunrise tomorrow." The king had no idea that this meeting would change his life forever. Long ago, in a prosperous kingdom, there lived a king named Victor. He possessed everything a man could desire: magnificent palaces, overflowing treasures, loyal soldiers, and the respect of millions. But despite all of this, he wasn't happy. His mind was constantly racing. During the day, he worried about protecting his kingdom. At night, he worried about losing everything he had built. No matter how much he achieved, it never felt enough. The more he gained, the more he feared losing it. Eventually, his inner suffering became so great that he announced a reward for anyone who could teach him true peace. Many people came. Some recited ancient wisdom. Others delivered long speeches about happiness. But nothing worked. The king remained restless. Then one afternoon, an old monk entered the royal court. Unlike everyone else, he said very little. After listening quietly, he looked at the king and said, "Meet me in the forest before sunrise tomorrow. Come alone." The next morning, the king arrived at the forest while the sky was still dark. The monk was already waiting. Without saying a word, he began walking deeper into the woods. The king followed. Minutes turned into hours. The monk remained silent. Finally, the king couldn't hold his curiosity any longer. "Where are we going?" he asked. The monk smiled, but didn't answer. They continued walking until they reached a beautiful lake. The water was perfectly still. The monk pointed toward the lake. "Look." The king looked into the water and saw his reflection clearly. Then the monk picked up a stone and threw it into the lake. Ripples spread across the surface. The reflection disappeared. "What do you see now?" asked the monk. "Nothing clearly," the king replied. "Wait." A few moments later, the water became calm again. The reflection returned. The monk looked at the king and said, "Your mind is exactly like this lake. When it is disturbed by fear, desire, and endless thoughts, you cannot see yourself clearly. But when it becomes still, all the answers you've been searching for appear naturally." The king listened carefully, but he still wasn't fully convinced. So the monk led him farther into the forest. Soon, they came across a woodcutter. His clothes were old and worn. He owned very little, yet he was happily singing while working. The king was amazed. "How can he be so happy?" he asked. "He has almost nothing." The monk smiled. "Because he lives in today. He isn't worried about tomorrow. He isn't obsessed with what others have. He appreciates what is already in front of him." The king fell silent. As the sun began to set, the monk led him to the top of a hill. Golden light covered the entire valley. The monk sat down and said, "For the next hour, don't speak." The king obeyed. At first, his mind was chaotic. Thoughts about power, thoughts about money, thoughts about enemies, thoughts about the future. But gradually, something changed. For the first time in years, he noticed the sound of birds. the whisper of the wind through the trees, the peaceful rhythm of nature. The noise inside his head slowly faded, and in that silence, he felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Peace. Real peace. Tears filled his eyes. After an hour, the monk finally asked, "What are you feeling now?" The king took a deep breath. "I spent my entire life trying to conquer the world, but I never learned how to conquer my own mind." The monk smiled. "That is the lesson. Peace is not found in wealth." From that day forward, King Victor remained a ruler. He still managed his kingdom. He still faced challenges. But something inside him had changed. Every day, he spent time in silence, not to escape life, but to understand it. His fears became smaller. His mind became clearer. And people noticed that their king had become wiser than ever before. Because he had discovered a truth most people spend their entire lives searching for. True peace doesn't come from having more. It comes from needing less. Moral of the story. In today's world, we're constantly chasing the next achievement, the next promotion, the next goal. We believe happiness is waiting somewhere in the future. But peace isn't found in what we gain. It's found in the moments when we slow down, become silent, and reconnect with ourselves. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is simply sit quietly and listen to your own